The shove came without warning. Sylphie's boots skidded on wet stone as Professor Blackheath's palm connected with her shoulder blade. She stumbled backward through the tent flap, rain immediately soaking through her field jacket. "The press doesn't need to see the help, Quill." Blackheath didn't even look at her. He was already turning back to the cameras, adjusting his university blazer, smoothing hair that hadn't seen field work in 20 years. The megaphone sat on the table beside him like a weapon. Sylphie caught herself against the excavation barrier. Her waterproof notebook, the one with 3 months of translation work, slipped from her grip into a puddle. The ink didn't run. She'd learned that lesson in Guatemala. Inside the tent, lights exploded in white bursts. "Ladies and gentlemen, what we've discovered here will rewrite our understanding of pre-conquest burial practices." Blackheath's voice boomed through the speaker system. The same voice that had promised her co-authorship 6 weeks ago, before the tomb's entrance was cleared, before the university donors started circling. Sylphie picked up her notebook. Mud caked under her fingernails. The construction crew was setting up behind the main excavation site. Heavy machinery on loan from the university's engineering department. Blackheath wanted the entire chamber exposed by morning, wanted the reveal to coincide with the press cycle. She looked at the tomb entrance. The real entrance, not the decorative archway they'd shown the cameras. A ventilation shaft, barely 3 feet wide, cut into the hillside 50 yards from the media circus. She'd mapped it 2 weeks ago. Ancient engineers had built it to let air flow through the burial chamber. No one else knew about it. Sylphie glanced back at the tent. Isolde Fenwick stood just inside, tablet glowing against her tailored coat, the lead investor. She was nodding at something Blackheath said, her expression carved from ice and quarterly projections. The rain fell harder. Sylphie walked to the ventilation shaft. The opening was partially collapsed, hidden behind excavation tarps the crew had discarded. She pulled the canvas aside. The smell hit her immediately, stone dust and something else. Something old and still. She clicked on her headlamp and crawled inside. The shaft angled downward at 40 degrees. Rough-cut limestone scraped her elbows. Water dripped from somewhere deeper in the darkness. Her breath echoed. 20 feet in, the shaft leveled out. 30 feet, it widened. At 40 feet, it opened into the burial chamber. Sylphie emerged headfirst into absolute silence. Her headlamp swept across the space. 12 feet high, maybe 20 across. The walls were covered in the same script she'd been translating, the warnings Blackheath had told her to omit from the press materials. Words about sleep and waking, about sound and fury. In the center of the chamber stood the sarcophagus, except it wasn't a sarcophagus. It was a throne, and the figure sitting in it wasn't a corpse. Sylphie's breath stopped. He was perfectly preserved. Too perfect. Skin like marble, dark hair that fell past shoulders wrapped in decayed silk. His hands rested on the throne's arms, fingers long and motionless. His eyes were closed. She'd seen the photographs. The initial survey team had documented him 3 months ago, had called him remarkably intact and possibly mummified through unknown means. But photographs didn't capture the wrongness. The way his chest didn't move. The way the air around him felt heavy, pressed down, waiting. Sylphie stayed in the shaft opening. Her training screamed at her to document, to photograph, to measure. Her instincts screamed something else entirely. Above, muffled by 40 feet of stone, Blackheath's voice droned on. Then the drilling started. The sound came through the earth itself. A mechanical scream, high-pitched and relentless. The construction crew, breaking through the chamber's outer wall. Blackheath's grand reveal. The figure on the throne convulsed. It wasn't a twitch. It was agony. His entire body seized, back-arching, hands gripping the throne arms hard enough that stone cracked under his fingers. His face contorted, jaw clenched, tendons standing out in his neck. But he didn't breathe, didn't scream. The drilling intensified, closer now. The chamber walls vibrated. The figure's eyes snapped open. They were black, completely black. No iris, no white, just endless dark that swallowed Sylphie's headlamp beam. He moved. Not like someone waking, like something unleashed. One moment he was on the throne. The next he was across the chamber, impossibly fast, and his hand was around Sylphie's ankle. The grip was iron, was stone. was 500 years of stillness concentrated into 5 fingers. Sylphie opened her mouth to scream and stopped, because he'd stopped. The convulsions ceased the instant his skin touched hers. His hand on her ankle, her pulse hammering against his palm, and the agony drained from his face like water from a broken dam. He stared at her. The drilling continued above, but he didn't react, didn't flinch. His thumb pressed against the inside of her ankle, right over the vein. When he spoke, his voice was a crypt opening. "You!" His grip loosened. Not releasing, but no longer crushing. "You stop the screaming!" Sylphie's headlamp flickered. In the unstable light, she saw his face clearly for the first time. Sharp features, aristocratic, beautiful in the way that predators are beautiful, designed to draw prey closer. But his eyes weren't hungry. They were grateful. Above them, Blackheath's megaphone crackled to life. "In just moments, we'll breach the inner chamber." The figure's jaw tightened. His free hand moved to his temple, fingers pressing hard enough to leave marks on that marble skin. But he didn't let go of Sylphie's ankle. "The noise," he whispered. "It's been... how long?" "You're alive," Sylphie breathed. "No," his eyes met hers. "I'm awake, there's a difference." The drilling hit a new pitch, closer, maybe 10 feet from breakthrough. He flinched but didn't convulse. His thumb moved in a small circle against her skin, unconscious, seeking. "They're going to open this chamber," Sylphie said. "There are 50 people up there, cameras, lights, sound equipment. Then they'll die." He said it simply, a fact, not a threat. "Unless..." His eyes dropped to where he held her. "Unless you stay." The drilling bit through another layer of limestone. The sound ricocheted through the chamber like 1,000 glass shards scraping bone. Draven's fingers spasmed against Sylphie's ankle. Not crushing, clutching. His other hand pressed harder against his temple, nails breaking skin that didn't bleed. But he didn't let go. "Stay still," Sylphie whispered. She didn't know why she said it. Didn't know why her free hand moved to rest on top of his, skin to marble-cold skin. But the moment she made contact, his breathing, if that's what the shallow movement of his chest could be called, steadied. The drilling stopped. Blackheath's voice boomed through the megaphone, muffled but clear. "Excellent progress. We're estimating breakthrough in 15 minutes. Camera crews, position yourselves at the north entrance." Draven's eyes rolled back. His entire body went rigid. "No, no, no." Sylphie pressed both hands against his now, her pulse hammering against his wrist. "Look at me, focus on me." His eyes snapped forward, fixed on her face. The rigidity eased. "It's the sound," she breathed. "You're reacting to the sound." 5 centuries. His voice cracked on the words. 5 centuries of silence, and then, screaming metal on stone, voices that don't stop. I tried to sleep through it, tried to sink back into the dark. But the noise, he broke off, jaw clenching. Sylphie's mind raced through the translations she'd done. The wall inscriptions Blackheath had dismissed as standard funerary texts. Words she'd marked as unusual: quietus, silentium, requiem. Not rest, quiet. "The earthquakes," she said suddenly. "The tremors the survey team reported 3 months ago, they started when? When the digging began." Draven's thumb moved against her skin again, that same unconscious circle. "When the first machine broke ground above me, I woke, and I've been waking ever since. Every drill, every voice, the megaphone crackled. His hand tightened, not painful but desperate. "You're the earthquake," Sylphie whispered. "When you convulse, the ground shakes. You're not trying to escape, you're trying to make it stop. I am the earthquake, I am the flood, I am every disaster your people blamed on angry gods." His black eyes held hers. "And when they breach this chamber with their lights and cameras and endless, endless noise, I will be the end of them. Unless I stay. Unless you stay." Sylphie's headlamp flickered again. In the unstable light, she saw the wall behind the throne clearly for the first time. More inscriptions, denser. She pulled her notebook from her jacket pocket with shaking hands. "Let me read the walls." Draven's grip loosened slightly. "Why?" "Because I need to understand what you are. I'm the monster they tried to bury." "No." Sylphie shifted, angling her headlamp toward the nearest wall. His hand slid from her ankle to her calf, maintaining contact. "Monsters don't build thrones. They don't lock themselves away. They don't." She stopped. The inscription wasn't a prayer. It was a medical record. Lord Draven Alaric, 32nd year of life, 547th year of consciousness. Affliction, eternal waking. Sensitivity to sound increased 400-fold. Sensitivity to light increased 300-fold. Sensitivity to touch. She traced the words with her finger. Sensitivity to touch, nullified in presence of compatible resonance. "You're not cursed," Sylphie breathed. "You're sick." A sound came from the ventilation shaft behind her. Not drilling, not rain, breathing. Wet, rattling breathing. Draven moved faster than thought. He pulled Sylphie behind him, his body a wall between her and the shaft opening. His hand never left her skin, slid from her calf to her wrist, holding her against his back. A figure emerged from the shaft. Garrick. Sylphie had seen him twice before. The night watchman Blackheath had hired from some private security company. Tall, gaunt, always wearing that long coat even in the rain. But she'd never seen him in the dark. His skin was gray. Actually gray, like meat left too long in a freezer. His eyes reflected her headlamp beam the way an animal's would. And his teeth, Lord Alaric. Garrick's voice scraped out of his throat like gravel through a drain pipe. "The Fenwick woman sends her regards." "A ghoul," Draven's voice was flat. "She hired a ghoul as a watchman." "She hired me as insurance." Garrick's lips pulled back. Those weren't human teeth. "In case the tomb's occupant proved uncooperative." He moved forward. Draven didn't. Sylphie felt the tension in his back, the coiled violence in every muscle. But he stood perfectly still, his hand tight around her wrist. "You can't attack," she whispered against his shoulder blade. "No, because you'd have to let go of me." "Yes," Garrick smiled. It was the worst thing Sylphie had ever seen. "The investor thought of everything, didn't she?" The ghoul circled left, testing. "She read the old texts, knew what you were, knew you'd wake angry, so she hired me to put you back down." "Try it," Draven said softly. "But here's the problem." Garrick stopped circling, his head tilted, inhuman and curious. "You've found your cure, that little mortal pressed against your back. Her heartbeat, her warmth. She's quieting the noise, isn't she?" Draven said nothing. "So you won't let her go, which means you won't fight, which means—" He lunged. Draven moved. He spun Sylphie around his body like a dancer, keeping his hand locked on her wrist, and caught Garrick's throat with his free hand. The ghoul's momentum carried them both into the chamber wall. Stone cracked, but Draven's grip on Sylphie never faltered. "I've had 5 centuries to learn economy of movement," Draven said into Garrick's face. "I don't need both hands to kill you." Garrick clawed at Draven's arm. His nails left furrows in that marble skin. Still no blood. "The drilling will start again," Garrick choked out. "Any second now. And when it does, when the pain hits you, you'll have to choose. Hold the girl or hold me." Above them, the machinery roared back to life. Draven's entire body seized. His hand spasmed around Garrick's throat and released. The ghoul dropped, gasping. But Draven's other hand stayed locked on Sylphie's wrist. He pulled her closer, his forehead pressing against her shoulder, his whole body shaking with the effort of not convulsing. "Touch," Sylphie gasped. "You need more contact." She wrapped her free arm around him. The shaking stopped. Garrick stared from the floor, his gray face slack with disbelief. "Impossible," he whispered. "The text said compatible resonance was 1 in a million, 1 in 10 million. The probability of finding—" "Get out," Draven said. His voice was muffled against Sylphie's shoulder, but the command was absolute. "Tell your employer her insurance policy is void. She'll send others. Then I'll kill them too, with one hand if I must." Draven lifted his head, his black eyes fixed on Garrick. "But I won't let go." The ghoul backed toward the shaft. His reflection eyes never left them. "The professor will breach this chamber in 10 minutes, Garrick said. 50 people, cameras, lights, megaphones. Can your little cure handle that much noise? Can she ground you through that much pain?" He disappeared into the shaft. His wet breathing faded. Sylphie and Draven stood in the center of the chamber, wrapped around each other like survivors of a shipwreck. The drilling continued above. "He's right," Sylphie whispered. "When they break through, when all that sound and light hits you at once, I'll destroy them." Draven's hand moved from her wrist to her back, pressing her closer. I won't mean to, won't want to, but the pain will take over and I'll tear through them like paper. Unless you can hold me through it. He pulled back enough to look at her face. But I don't know if that's possible. I don't know if any human could withstand being that close to me when Blackheath's megaphone crackled. 5 minutes to break through. I want every camera ready. Draven's jaw clenched. His hand fisted in the back of Sylphie's jacket. Read the rest, he said roughly. The walls, read what they did to me. What I am. You deserve to know what you're choosing. Sylphie turned in his arms, keeping her back pressed against his chest. His hand slid to her waist, maintaining contact. She aimed her headlamp at the throne wall. The inscription continued below the medical record. Treatment attempted, 247 methods. Herbal remedies, ineffective. Surgical intervention, ineffective. Magical suppression, ineffective. Final solution, sensory deprivation. Subject sealed in chamber designed to eliminate all external stimuli. Sound dampening walls. Light blocking construction. Temperature regulation. Subject's consciousness will slow. Sleep will deepen. Pain will cease. This is not a tomb. This is mercy. Sylphie's breath caught. You built this, she whispered. You locked yourself away. I begged them to. Draven's voice was hollow against her ear. Every sound was agony, every voice, every footstep, every breath. I was going mad. Destroying everything around me, just trying to make it stop. So they built me silence, and I slept. For 5 centuries I slept. Until we woke you. Until your professor decided to make me famous. The drilling hit a new pitch. Closer, maybe 5 feet from breakthrough. Draven's arm tightened around Sylphie's waist. She felt his heart, did he have a heart, hammering against her spine. Run, he said. While you still can, crawl back through that shaft and don't look back. And then I'll do what I was always going to do. I'll end the noise, all of it. Everyone who brought machines and lights and megaphones to my silence. Including Blackheath. Especially Blackheath. Sylphie looked at the throne. At the cracks in the stone arms where Draven's fingers had gripped too hard. At the wall inscriptions describing 5 centuries of desperate, careful mercy. Above them, Blackheath laughed into his megaphone. This is it, ladies and gentlemen. History in the making. The drill bit through the final layer. Light exploded into the chamber. Camera flashes, spotlights, the white-hot glare of media attention. And sound, so much sound, voices shouting, equipment humming. Blackheath's megaphone booming, Draven screamed. It wasn't human, wasn't anything that should come from a throat. It was 5 centuries of silence shattering all at once. His arm crushed Sylphie against him. His other hand clawed at his own face, nails raking skin that finally bled black. The chamber walls cracked. Dust rained from the ceiling. And Sylphie made her choice. She spun in his arms, grabbed his face with both hands, and pulled his forehead down to hers. Look at me, she commanded. Only me, block out everything else, my hands, my voice, my heartbeat, focus. His black eyes were wild, unseeing. Draven, she said. Lord Alaric, focus. His hands moved to her shoulders, gripping, nearly breaking. That's it, she whispered. Hold on to me, just me. The screaming stopped. His breathing, ragged, desperate, slowed. The chamber stopped shaking. And through the breach in the wall, Professor Blackheath stepped into the tomb, megaphone raised, 50 people and 100 cameras at his back. He saw them. Saw Sylphie wrapped in the arms of the figure from the throne. Saw Draven's black eyes fixed on her face. Saw the blood, black blood, running down Draven's cheeks. Blackheath's megaphone slipped from his hand. It hit the stone floor with a feedback screech that could shatter glass. Draven's head snapped toward the sound, and Sylphie felt every muscle in his body coil for the kill. The megaphone's feedback screech died into silence. 50 people stood frozen in the breach. Cameras, lights, Blackheath at the front, his face cycling through confusion, recognition, triumph. Draven's entire body trembled against Sylphie, not from pain, from restraint. Don't, she whispered. Please don't. His eyes stayed locked on Blackheath, black and bottomless and hungry. Professor, Isolde Fenwick pushed through the crowd, tablet glowing. The structural integrity readings are spiking. We need to evacuate. Nonsense. Blackheath bent to retrieve his megaphone. This is the discovery of the century. We're not going anywhere. He raised the device to his lips. "No," Sylphie started. The megaphone roared to life. "Ladies and gentlemen, what you're seeing is unprecedented." Draven's knees buckled. He went down hard, his hands releasing Sylphie to catch himself against the stone floor. The impact cracked the limestone. Black blood poured from his nose, his ears, the corners of his eyes. "Stop!" Sylphie lunged for Blackheath. "You're killing him." Blackheath shoved her aside without looking. His eyes were fixed on Draven, on the cameras capturing every second. "The preservation is remarkable. Note the apparent biological responses." Draven's scream cut through the megaphone's boom. It wasn't human, it was tectonic, the sound of continental plates grinding together. The chamber floor split. A crack raced from where Draven knelt to the breach in the wall. People stumbled. Someone's camera crashed to the ground. "Fascinating," Blackheath breathed into the megaphone. "Seismic activity appears to correlate with the subject's distress. Turn IT off." Sylphie grabbed for the megaphone. Blackheath backhanded her. The blow caught her across the cheek, sent her sprawling. Her head cracked against the chamber floor. Stars exploded across her vision. Through the ringing in her ears, she heard Blackheath's voice, distant and tinny. "Security, remove the girl. She's contaminating the site." Hands grabbed her arms, pulled her toward the breach. Away from Draven, she fought, kicked, screamed. Draven's head lifted. His black eyes found her. Found the blood running from her split lip. Found the hands dragging her away. Something in his face changed. The agony drained away, replaced by something colder, clearer, predatory. "Let her go!" His voice was quiet, barely a whisper. But every person in the chamber heard it. The security guards froze. Draven rose to his feet. Smooth, controlled. Black blood still streaming down his face, but his movements were precise now, purposeful. "I said," he took a step forward, "let her go." The guards released Sylphie and backed away. Blackheath raised the megaphone again. "Security, restrain THE." Draven moved. One moment he was 10 feet away. The next his hand was wrapped around the megaphone, crushing it to sparking plastic and twisted metal. Blackheath stumbled backward. "What? How did you?" "5 centuries," Draven said softly. 5 centuries I've been practicing economy of movement, learning to kill efficiently, quietly." His black eyes fixed on Blackheath's face. "One-handed, if necessary." He dropped the destroyed megaphone. "But I have both hands free now." Blackheath's face went white. "You can't, there are witnesses, cameras." "Yes," Draven smiled. It was the worst thing Sylphie had ever seen. "There are." He took another step forward. Blackheath scrambled backward, tripped over his own feet. "Isolde, the ghoul, where's the ghoul?" "Garrick abandoned his post an hour ago," Isolde said flatly. She was backing toward the breach, tablet clutched to her chest. "I'm terminating this project. Everyone out, now." The crowd surged for the exit. Draven didn't stop them. His eyes never left Blackheath. "Please," Blackheath whispered. "I didn't know, I didn't understand what you were." "You knew enough." Draven crouched beside him. "The wall inscriptions, the warnings. My linguist translated them all. Told you this was a mercy chamber, not a tomb. Told you I was sick, not dead. And you buried her work, shoved her into the rain, stole her research. She's just a graduate student. She's the only reason you're still breathing." Draven's hand shot out, grabbed Blackheath by the throat, lifted him off the ground one-handed. "For 5 centuries I've dreamed of silence, of peace, of sleep without pain." His grip tightened. "And you shattered it, brought your machines and your lights and your megaphone, woke me into agony. And when someone tried to stop you, when she tried to protect me, you struck her." Blackheath clawed at Draven's wrist. His face was turning purple. "Draven!" Sylphie's voice cut through the chamber. "Don't! Why not?" He didn't look at her. "Give me one reason why this parasite deserves to live. Because I'm asking you not to. Not good enough. Because if you kill him, they'll never let you rest again." Sylphie pushed herself to her feet, ignoring the way the chamber spun. "They'll hunt you, study you, turn you into the monster they already think you are." "I am a monster." "No," she walked toward him. "Slowly, you're sick, and you're in pain, and you're so tired." Draven's hand trembled. Blackheath made a choking sound. "Let him go," Sylphie said. "Please. He hurt you. I know. He destroyed your work. I know. He deserves to die screaming. Maybe, Sylphie stopped beside him. But you deserve peace more than he deserves death. For a long moment, Draven didn't move. Then his fingers opened. Blackheath dropped, gasping, clutching his throat. Draven turned to Sylphie. His face was still covered in black blood, his eyes still bottomless and dark. But his hand, when he reached for her, was gentle. "You stopped me," he said quietly. "Yes. Why? Because you asked me to stay, and I don't abandon people who need me." His thumb brushed her split lip. "You're bleeding. So are you." A sound from the breach made them both turn. Blackheath was crawling toward the exit, one hand still on his throat. But he'd grabbed something from the rubble, a piece of the destroyed megaphone. The battery pack was still intact, still connected to the speaker unit. He raised it with shaking hands. "If I can't have the discovery," he rasped, "no one can." He pressed the power button. Feedback screamed through the chamber at full volume. Draven convulsed. His hand spasmed away from Sylphie's face. He went down hard, his body seizing, black blood pouring from his eyes, his ears, his mouth. The chamber walls cracked. The floor buckled. Chunks of ceiling rained down. "Stop!" Sylphie lunged for Blackheath. He kicked her away. "You chose him over your career, over everything I offered you." The feedback intensified. Draven's screams weren't human anymore. They were geological, the sound of the earth breaking. Sylphie crawled toward him, reached for his hand. The chamber floor split between them. A chasm opened, 3 feet wide, separating her from where Draven writhed in agony. "No, no, no," she scrambled to the edge, too far to reach. Draven's eyes found hers across the gap, black and desperate and drowning in pain. His hand stretched toward her. She stretched back. Their fingers were inches apart. The feedback shrieked louder. Draven's body arched. His hand clawed at the stone, leaving gouges. His mouth opened in a scream that had no sound left, just raw agony, and Sylphie understood. She couldn't reach him, couldn't ground him, couldn't stop what was coming. She looked at Blackheath, at his face twisted with vindictive satisfaction. "You don't understand what you've done," she whispered. "I've ended this farce. The chamber went silent. Not quiet, silent. Draven had stopped screaming. He stood in the center of the chasm, black blood covering his face, his clothes, the stone beneath his feet. His eyes were open, fixed on Blackheath, but they weren't desperate anymore. They were empty. "Oh," Blackheath breathed. "Oh no." Draven took a step forward. The chasm closed beneath his feet like it had never existed. "I gave you mercy," Draven said. His voice was flat, dead. "Because she asked. Because I thought I could still choose peace over vengeance." Another step. "But you took her from me, hurt her, separated us." Another step. "And now the pain is all I have left." Blackheath dropped the megaphone, turned to run. Draven was faster. His hand closed around the back of Blackheath's neck. "So let me show you," Draven whispered, "what 5 centuries of pain feels like." He pressed his thumb against the base of Blackheath's skull. Blackheath's scream shattered the silence. Not from his throat, from his mind. From every nerve in his body firing at once, experiencing every second of agony Draven had endured, compressed into a single endless moment. He collapsed, convulsing, eyes rolling back, foam at his lips. Draven held him there, thumb pressed to skull, feeding him pain. "Draven!" Sylphie screamed. "Stop!" He didn't respond, didn't even look at her. Blackheath's convulsions slowed. His eyes went glassy. "You're killing him," Sylphie sobbed. "Please, you're killing him." "Good." The word was empty, mechanical. Sylphie looked at Draven's face, at the black eyes that had been desperate and grateful and almost human. They were none of those things now. The pain had won. She'd lost him. And Blackheath, still breathing, still conscious, but broken in ways that had no name, finally understood what he'd woken. Not a man, not a monster. A god of agony unchained. Sylphie didn't think, didn't plan. She jumped. The chasm was still closing, the stone still shifting beneath Draven's feet. She leaped across the gap and slammed into him, wrapping both arms around his torso, pressing her entire body against his back. "Let him go," she whispered against his spine. "Please, come back to me." Draven's thumb stayed pressed to Blackheath's skull. "He hurt you. I know. He destroyed everything. I know. He deserves this. Maybe, Sylphie's hands found his chest, pressed flat over where his heart should be. But you don't deserve to become what the pain wants you to be. For 3 heartbeats, nothing changed. Then Draven's hand opened. Blackheath collapsed to the stone floor, alive but shattered. His eyes stared at nothing. His mouth worked soundlessly. Drool ran down his chin. Draven turned in Sylphie's arms. His face was still covered in black blood, but his eyes. They were seeing her again. His voice cracked. I was going to, but you didn't. She cupped his face with both hands. You stopped. Because of you. Yes. Footsteps echoed from the breach, heavy boots, professional, organized. Isolde Fenwick stepped through, flanked by 6 security personnel in tactical gear. Not the university's rent-a-cops. Real operators. The kind who knew how to handle supernatural threats. She looked at Blackheath's broken form. At Draven and Sylphie wrapped around each other. At the cracked walls and shattered floor. Gentlemen, she said calmly, secure Professor Blackheath. Medical transport is waiting topside. 2 guards moved forward with a stretcher. Blackheath didn't resist, didn't even seem to register their presence. They lifted him like a broken doll. Miss Fenwick, one guard started. The professor suffered a severe psychological break, Isolde said flatly. Stress-induced psychosis. Happens in high-pressure excavations. The university will provide full medical support and a generous severance package. She tapped her tablet. His employment contract is terminated effective immediately. All research materials will be audited. Any irregularities in attribution will be corrected. Her eyes flicked to Sylphie. I believe Miss Quill's translations were quite comprehensive. She'll be listed as lead researcher on all publications. Sylphie stared. You're what? I'm a businesswoman, Miss Quill. I invest in discoveries, not disasters. Isolde gestured at the chamber. This site is now a liability. The university will seal it, declare it structurally unsound, and bury the whole mess under 50 feet of concrete. You can't, Sylphie started. I am, and you'll be compensated handsomely for your silence. Isolde's gaze shifted to Draven, as will Lord Alaric. Draven's arms tightened around Sylphie. I'm not leaving this chamber. Yes, you are. Isolde pulled up a schematic on her tablet. I've purchased the estate 3 miles north. 18th century manor house. Stone construction, 40-foot walls. Soundproofed wine cellar that goes down 60 feet. She turned the tablet to show them. I had it surveyed yesterday. The cellar can be converted into a sensory deprivation chamber in 6 weeks. Better than this tomb. Climate-controlled, properly ventilated. And her eyes flicked to Sylphie, with living quarters for a full-time caretaker. Sylphie's breath caught. You knew what he was before we even broke through. I read the same translations you did, Miss Quill. I simply drew different conclusions. Isolde pocketed her tablet. Professor Blackheath wanted fame. I wanted insurance. A being of immense power, properly managed, is worth more than any archaeological discovery. I'm not your asset, Draven said quietly. No, you're Miss Quill's patient. Isolde's smile was cold and precise. I'm simply providing the facility. What you do with it is your concern. She turned toward the breach. You have 20 minutes before the demolition team arrives. I suggest you decide quickly. The guards followed her out, carrying Blackheath between them. Sylphie and Draven stood alone in the cracking chamber. She's trying to buy us, Draven said. Yes, trap us in another tomb. Maybe, Sylphie looked up at him. Or maybe she's offering you what you wanted 5 centuries ago. Silence, peace, a chance to sleep. With you as my jailer. With me as your anchor. She pressed her hand over his heart again. If you want me. Draven's hand covered hers. I've wanted nothing else since the moment you touched me. Then we leave together. We take her offer and we build you a better silence. And if the pain comes back, if I lose control again, then I'll pull you back, every time, for as long as you need me. His forehead dropped to hers. That might be forever. I know. You're giving up everything, your career, your freedom, your life. No, Sylphie smiled against his blood-stained face. I'm choosing it. 6 weeks later. The wine cellar was perfect. 60 feet below the manor house, the chamber stretched 30 feet in every direction. The walls were lined with acoustic dampening panels. The ceiling was reinforced concrete, sound isolated from the floors above. The temperature held steady at exactly 68 degrees. In the center stood a bed. Not a throne, not a sarcophagus, just a bed. Draven lay on his back, eyes closed, one hand resting on his chest. His breathing was slow, even, almost peaceful. Sylphie sat beside him, her laptop open, working through the final translations from the tomb. Her other hand rested on his shoulder, maintaining contact. "The inscription on the eastern wall," she murmured, "describes the original architect, a woman named Thera. She was the first one who could touch you without causing pain." Draven's eyes opened. "What happened to her?" "She stayed with you for 40 years, until she died of old age." Sylphie scrolled down. "The chamber was her design, her gift, so you could finally rest. And then I slept for 5 centuries. Until Blackheath woke you." Draven's hand found hers. "Do you regret it, staying?" Sylphie looked around the chamber. At the monitoring equipment Isolde had installed. At the reinforced door that locked from the inside. At the small kitchenette and bathroom that made this livable instead of just survivable. "Ask me in 40 years, she said. Draven smiled, actually smiled. "Deal!" Above them, barely audible through 60 feet of stone and soundproofing, the manor house settled into evening quiet. No drills, no megaphones, no cameras. Just silence, and 2 people who'd found each other in the dark. Draven's eyes drifted closed again. His breathing deepened. Sylphie kept working, one hand on her laptop, one hand on his shoulder, anchoring him, grounding him, choosing him, every single day. Some prisons are built by enemies. Others are built by love. The difference is who holds the key. If you believe some monsters just need someone who understands their pain, subscribe for more stories where the broken find their anchors. And comment below. Would you give up everything to save someone the world called a monster?